Hi, everybody, and welcome to New Earth Podcast. I have with me as my guest today the wonderful Sue Cooper, who is really interested in integrative health and vibrant well-being. And we're going to be talking today about the grandmother of light. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me. It's lovely that we're together again, because you helped me in one of my Feast for the Soul Wellbeing is a Skill podcast. So it's lovely to be with you again. So thank you.
And thank you for coming to speak today. So would you like to just start by sharing a little bit about your background and your history and how you came into being interested in vibrant health?
Yeah, thank you. I trained as a registered nurse going back into the 1970s. And so for 40 years, I did various types of nursing, clinical nursing being the primary, and then moved into up the scale into education, into research, into community nursing, and into business, running care home groups, and become director of nursing there. And what I recognised during that time was there was something that was starting to erode out of healthcare. And that was the holistic model, where you heal yourself whilst you're enabled with a curative model within the current paradigm of health. And then technology was rising to such an extent that we're starting to lose our connection with healing, I believe. And then I became quite unwell myself. During my nursing times, I wasn't able to become as creative as I wanted to be. I wanted to offer safe practice, but the creative flair where you have an interaction one-on-one and you co-create something so that that person can find their own formula to well-being within a safe paradigm. So becoming very unwell, it took me about 18 months to kind of disappear altogether. You know, the confidence, the purpose, everything disappeared. And it felt like I'd just got blinkers on, a baseball cap, and I couldn't maneuver. And of course, the stress took a massive dent on my life. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor was charming. And he said, well, I really don't know what's wrong with you, but I'll give you some antidepressants. So I'm not depressed, but I don't know what's wrong. But I was very grateful, because I recognised then that was really all he had. And I'm going back to 2006. But I knew that I took the prescription, but I didn't get it filled in. But there was some sort of comfort factor that if I really couldn't cope, there was something I could use. And then I didn't retire from nursing, but I needed to find healing for me. So my husband and I went on a 10-year adventure with rucksacks, and the children went off and did their thing, university and work and stuff. And they kept coming out to visit us. We kept coming home. But I hadn't realised what this journey was about. But we started off in India. And then I found Ayurveda, because it turned out I was at an Ayurvedic retreat, which I didn't know. Very basic, but it was beautiful. And then from that, we travelled to many indigenous countries where indigenous people were well regarded, and looked at their healing, how they lived. The holistic model that they had, rising when it got light and going to bed when the fire dampened down in the night, and everybody within the family, within the tribe, whatever we call them, all had a place, and everybody was valued. And then during that time, looking more at Ayurveda, Deepak Chopra came into some of the stuff that I was looking at, and thinking, oh no, he's very interesting. So I knew that I just had to go and find him. And then so I did, and I trained with him and the Chopra Centre in Ayurveda. I then went on to train further in meditation and mindfulness with Sarah McLean. And then it was evident, but it took a lot of time, because I had a lot of things to shed myself, was, well, when we find that place of stillness, where we find that place of belonging, when we can co-create, be deeply listened to, and share and hear and work within and live within the environmental natural forces, oh my goodness, you could become incredibly well. But that's not to say that the medical model is failing. It's not. In an acute situation, it's marvelous. But this chronic state that I found myself in was, well, I could maybe, you know, with a lot of support and knowledge and looking at all the wisdom traditions, get myself well, and I did. So the journey continued from then.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And how often is it that we have to go through a bit of a dark night of the soul to really find what it is that we've been looking forward for and to sort of dig deep and find that spiritual connection ultimately. So your topic today is Grandmother of Light, and Sue and I had a little chat beforehand, and I said to Sue, usually I'll sort of do a little bit of looking into the topic or whatever, just so I have a feel for it. But I have absolutely no idea what this topic's about. And Sue said to me, neither have I. So we're just very much in the trusting at this moment that what is going to come through. Sue was very clear that this was her topic for today. So that whatever's going to come through today will be guided. Before we start the topic, I don't know if you want to talk about any of the community work that you've been doing with, meditation, compassion and action, because that may well feed into the topic as well.
Oh, yes, thank you. When I came back from all my different journeys, and then when we settled back again, I live in Nottingham in the centre of England. I was very fortunate that I actually had quite a large group of people who are holistic practitioners, therapists, or people who are simply interested in the ancient wisdoms. So there was that sense of belonging when I came back, and it's like I've touched so much. What can we do within our community? And then in 2016, I had a very deep dream. And it woke me up. And this has been my guiding light since. And I was to wake up, because it shook me awake, and to write down the following words. I was to co-create compassionate communities and integrate holistic healing hubs throughout the globe. So
wow, amazing.
I wrote it down. It was a message. And I think probably it was the very first message that came that way. I've had a few since. So I wrote it down, but it was all over the place because it was dark. And because I got used to, doing pages, journaling, gratitude journaling, that the book was already open. And it was like, oh, yeah, okay, well, what does this mean? And my strength is in connection and collaboration. So I asked quite a few people that I knew. There was 9 people that was actually showed to me within this dream, if I'm quite honest. And it was the following evening, the following night. And all those 9 people were available the next week. Incredible dream. When we came together.
What are the chances of that?
You see, this is it, isn't it? It's like,
yeah. When you're in the flow of the universe, you can move mountains. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, and very quickly. And without ego, it's like, I don't understand. I don't know what it means. Maybe if a group of us got together, we could see what that looks like. And we did. And some of us worked, we all worked in voluntary capacity, but 3 of us did a lot more because the others were saying, well, we have, the jobs that we can't move, this is going to be a lot of work. And it turned out that we did a mass meditation with about 800 to 1,000 people came. And then we had all the holistic practitioners that we knew from our individual networks come and offer what they practiced so that we found each other. And from that, we moved from a competition to collaborative journey, because once I knew what somebody else was doing, they knew what I was doing. It's like, oh, do you know about this? So it's like, let's see what's best for each individual, and let's guide people to where they can find the best healing, and see what that connection's like. So from that, I became an ambassador. I was invited to be an ambassador for Nottinghamshire Hospice, because what I learned during my period, I went out to work within palliative care, because that's obviously part of nursing, and I did further training at university, was the biggest fear that we hold is the fear of death. And what is it that we can learn from the people who've passed or who have been given a life-limiting diagnosis? What can we learn from them? So I went and did some postgrad study at the university in that, and then was invited to be an ambassador for the Hospice, which is super. Asked to be an ambassador for the mindfulness group here, because I went and did lots of talks and talked about vibrant well-being and healing. Not from so much a cerebral point of view, and I think this may be where this might be showing itself, what we're talking about today, but from life experience, which is, you can only have extreme life experiences in terms of time, to the roller coaster, make mistakes and, regroup and what have you, is when you've lived a life. And the longer the life that you've lived, the more experiences you may well have gathered, not necessarily in every case. But it's the wisdom that comes from, some people are what we call old souls, they just know this stuff. We're all born with it, but it's conditioned away from us because we move into the model that, serves the systems that as they are at the moment. So with that, and then I was also on the day of the mass meditation, which was in 2017, two people met each other at that particular day, and they set up a couple of years later something called Positively Empowered Kids. And then over the last period, since 2019 when they got together, I'd been asked if I'd be a wise older woman, or a woman of wisdom, I like to call it, a wow, and now I've been asked to be over the last few years a voluntary non-exec director with them, because they are a small charity. So what I've learnt through all this, and keep reflecting on it, what is it and what am I here to do? And it's the gathering of the people within community. It's the gathering of the grassroots people who are kind of what we call compassionate disruptors, people who are doing what they're doing from a different way, but they're often doing it together. And Sarah, I know you yourself are one of those. There are different ways of doing things, and it's doing it together so that it's the evolution of human and global consciousness. And the children are wired for this already, and they're those who are now, many of them who are labelled with spectrum disorders, and they may be medicated. Again, I'm not saying that's wrong, because, that's not my viewpoint. My viewpoint is to stay in the light and go, have these children got something to offer that we're not really sure about because they are specific in one particular thing, maybe? So let's just look at how we can get the voice of the children, the little ones, the older ones, the ones, up to 25, not children, but, young adults, and hear their voices, because they know what the future is going, because they're living in it, and they're going to be living in it. And we, Greta Thunberg says, don't steal our future. We mustn't, and we shouldn't, and we've done what we've done probably without knowing what the consequences of a lot of these things are that we did, unbeknowing, the rise of plastics, etc. My view is, what can I do in some small way, or maybe large way, I don't know, to put things right so that we all stay well and vibrant.
There's so much there, Sue. It's so rich and diverse. There's so much I could pick up on. I love this idea of the compassionate disruptor. That's what you said, wasn't it? Compassionate disruptor. That really, really resonated with me, because, we're going through such a transitional time in our world. And for me, it's about moving into love. It's you spoke about your work with the Hospice, and, understanding the journey that people, the wisdom of people that are at the end of their life. And, I think with what we've been through with, the pandemic, there's been a lot of fear. And I think for me, the feeling that I have is that it's how can we navigate that fear to gain the wisdom to move into love. I don't know if that speaks to you at all.
Yes, it does. And we do live in a fear-based world, because that's the way the media portrays. And of course, you know, when during the COVID years, when you had that ticker tape of deaths every perpetually, and the children were at home, we were all at home and watching this, feeding into the psyche. I mean, it was a very frightening time. But we actually know the people who are working in love, who are working in community betterment, from self-care, self-work, the inner knowing, and then the family and the neighborhood and the community, and moving out into the world. We know actually we come from love. So there's that disharmony, isn't there? Well, we're being told this, but actually the feeling is one of, we generate love. And this is where the mother comes in, not necessarily female. I'm talking about the mother energy, the love and the care and the nurturing and the compassion that comes from both men and women. It's the feminine power, that when we balance that with the masculine power, which is more head based, isn't it? It's more logic, reason, and link it with the heart space. My goodness, we can move mountains. We can move mountains together.
Yeah, and it's very much, I mean, this is called New Earth Podcast, and my sense is that the journey into New Earth is that kind of diving into the divine feminine, which has been suppressed. Do you feel there are any ways that we can activate that compassion and that feminine side?
I do. I think if we just start with the health is described. The true definition of health is it's an art and a science. So the science is very well defined, in fact, probably out of balance, whereas the arts have taken a lesser seat, haven't they? And that ability to be creative with something, be it singing, dancing, meditating, whatever it is, whatever makes your heart sing, bringing those two together. So the divine feminine is the archetypal divine feminine is love, and in fact, maybe this is where this is coming from. My life changed about 6 years ago, and I might get a bit moved here because it still gets me, is when I saw, just take a breath, when I saw my daughter hold her daughter, this new little wriggly baby, which I couldn't even see because she was dressed in white with a white bonnet on, and my daughter was wearing white. I couldn't even, where is she? And there she was. And then a few years later, 3 years later, I saw my son hold his son, and the same thing happened. It was like, oh my God, I'm seeing in masculine and feminine, male, female, I'm seeing exactly the same reaction of deep, deep love and awe and wonder. And I felt it, they felt it, and then we created, or they created the oxytocin bubble, which, we know about. And, maybe if we don't know about it, it's that comes from, the body to actually go into labor. There's a huge surge of oxytocin. And then the baby, you move into labor and the baby's born, but that oxytocin doesn't diminish because, of course, the breast milk comes in, but it's a love bubble. And then to be able to see that love bubble and then walk into it, that's the divine feminine. So it doesn't take away from the masculine in any shape or form. We need it all. We know that, don't we? But it's being able to create this sense of deep love and compassion and belonging, so that we can each thrive, because we can't do it on our own. Fear brings loneliness and isolation.
That's so beautiful. I love this love bubble. And do you feel that's what you're doing with your mass meditations? Do you set intentions around you know, that kind of thing to really generate a very powerful energy.
Yes, yes. I think we have to be careful because we are dealing with energies that are very powerful. And if you're in a place of despair or no hope or anxiety, this has to be a gradual awakening, because if it doesn't, and I got this surge when I was 17. I went into a situation where my whole being sort of got blown apart because of the sheer power of this evangelical group that I was invited into. And it's like, oh, okay, because that shuts you down then, you know, you're back to safety. So what we do when we do our mass meditations, we always talk about, well, we nearly always talk about new beginnings and coming to each experience with the beginner's mind and feeling into what it feels like to be firstly safe, feeling safe within your own environment or within the environment that you are in if you're out of the home. Moving that into then what we call a brave space. So it's a space where you know that you can express and you know that you belong. And then an intentional space. So it's all the same thing, but it's just, I feel it's got this bubble towards it. Setting an intention is, what is it that you want to bring into your moment, into your life now? What is it that you're seeking? Because I don't know what you're seeking, and I probably don't even know what I'm seeking. But asking that self-inquiry question and being aware that there is a power when we come together with that same intention. So what was shown to me was be very careful, because the mass awakening is happening. We know that people are, you know, you can see it in the adverts now that they're using mindfulness, you know, for adverts and stuff. And it's like, be very careful, because we need to create community to hold the space for people who are awakening. Because when you do that on your own, it is very powerful. And how can I find what's happening to me? My reality is starting to change. Well, I'm not happy where I am. And do you know what I mean? So that's where I think that dream was so beautiful. Co-create compassionate communities was first, and then integrate holistic healing within there. So it's the compassion and the community.
That's really beautiful. And just backtracking a little bit to what you spoke about, the healing arts and that kind of bringing the healing and the creativity together, that really spoke to me. And you know, it's in a way, what you're talking about is when you bring healing and creativity together, what you have is community, because people always come together to create. It's something that really draws people together. So do you feel that has influenced, you know, your compassionate communities, this kind of creative energy, and how would it have influenced?
I think people are fascinated when you are well and when you can display wellness and that vital, vibrant energy. People are interested in what you're doing because it becomes a magnet. You know this, don't you? So coming together in community is the way that I do it is by holding meditation events, but always with an opportunity to be part of it. It's not me saying this is a meditation event and this is what you're going to do. It's coming into a space and we all belong, and there always has to be an organizer, but it's all part of the same. And then being able to come into that place of stillness or less active brain and a more relaxed body, and then understanding why that happens, and then having time for conversation. And that's where something happens that is not expected to happen. And they do say a lot, don't they, that you really only remember something that you've said because it's come through you rather than what somebody's told you. And it's like, well, once you can have that community experience to be able to express your deep self, your true nature that's coming through, maybe, you know, little something, it may be you don't want to express anything at all, but you're held within that space of knowing that it's okay, whatever is okay. So that's what I love to do. And then of course there's all the groups, the community groups that we have in our community, singing groups, you know, choir and painting groups and book club groups, and so there's that common interest. What is the common interest that brings you together, where you can actually have a chance to be you?
That's beautiful, Sue. And I love the held space of allowing each individual to be their authentic self, and that to be held and kind of appreciated and valued. And I feel that that's what we all need to do with each other in community, you know, because we've kind of, a lot of that was lost, and I do feel we're on a journey of refinding that for each other again, and coming into authenticity, and in that process becoming more connected with divine, you know, the divine light. So I'm just going to backtrack to your dream, and I can't remember the exact words that you had to write down, but I remember you saying something about integrative health and hubs. Is that correct? I don't know if you want to repeat what you said.
So it was to co-create compassionate communities and integrate holistic healing hubs throughout the globe, which is a big ask.
Amazing. That's incredible. And when you spoke that, just what sprang into my mind immediately, you know, working with the People's Health Alliance, you know, with the work that I'm doing there, was the People's Health Alliance, because that's what I see that the People's Health Alliance are doing. And I know that you are collaborating with the People's Health Alliance as well. Would you like to share about how you're collaborating?
Well, I saw Catherine McBean speak to Pam Gregory, because I follow Pam Gregory's work, and I went, oh, pow! Without even a second thought, I was straight on, you know, how can I help? Yeah, we've had conversations, and then I delivered a talk on one of their events. And what's beautiful about when we do this, Sarah, is more comes through because we're sharing and being listened to. So we go with that open heart and not really understanding what it's about, but then you suddenly start to see that light, don't you, of what the People's Health Alliance are doing is so phenomenal, which is integrating holistic healing hubs. Because I know that I don't have to do it, because I can't. I could do a little bit, but together we do this. So when I saw and, you know, talked to Catherine and Lisa and the others, it's like, wow, this is happening. So what little part can I play in this? So being co-director of the 40 Days of Feast for the Soul, which is a spiritual immersion where we meditate with teachers from around the world every day at 4:00 UK time, which has just completed last week. How can we bring the People's Health Alliance into this so that people know about it? Well, yeah, we did. They came in again and again, and the spiritual ambassador there, FOPA, he joined us for most of the talks and a lot of the meditations, you know, as this active participant, and being open to what is waiting to evolve. Well, what I certainly keep going back to People's Health Alliance, thinking, so what are they doing now? Okay, let's tell the people in Feast for the Soul, because there's, you know, 14,000 in, you know, on the database, and people, we had about 140, 150 every night, and meditating together with an intention of more love and more peace. So it's not rushing anything, it's finding each other and going, let me tell you about this, and then here's the links. Go on your seeker's journey if that inspires you, you know. So
that's definitely the path, and it's just such a wonderful initiative to be involved with as well. So, grandmother of the light, is anything arising for you that has not been spoken already? Because we've been speaking, you know, your journey, your process. Is there any, you've just been on this 40-day process with Feast of the Soul. Is there anything emerging for you from in this moment?
Yes. And it happened last night, funnily enough. I'm going on a retreat in Ireland, and a couple of the people who were on the Zoom call as we talked about what this retreat's going to look like, one has just become a grandmother 6 months ago, and another one said she was announcing that her daughter's 10 weeks pregnant. And that sense of excitement that was generated through their excitement of, and I said nothing because I've got 4 little ones, but I just observed and witnessed the excitement of, oh my God, I'm going to be part of this new life again. So I felt that the lightness of that, the essence of what is coming through, and the place of the grandmother Because, we are separated more often than not from our families now, because, in the, days gone by, we were tribal and we all lived around the corner from each other. But we do have this medium, which is very powerful, which I had no idea would be quite so powerful. But we also have that ability to influence through our very being and through our spirituality, what the children are here being born into. And I know for myself, so I've got 4, the eldest one's 6, I've got 1 3, 1 2, and 1 6 months. And seeing them playing in consciousness, be it with the dinosaurs, with fairies, with tractors, with the imaginal realm. They're in the ones that are able to are in the imaginal realm most of the time, and it's being able to enter into that imaginal realm, because there is a realm that is invisible. We know that, and to be able to enter it and then play within that. And because there's more time when you're a grandparent, more often than not, and there's more patience, more often than not, because it's 100% attention on this. And I feel that as an elder, that this is the place now to bring this nurturing light that is always present, to do the work ourselves and to be able to share this into family. And it's very, very clear it's not being evangelical about this. It's simply radiating the light that is within and expanding it out to create the bubble, the bubble of happiness around that the children actually bring. And, when they feel safe and loved within that environment, they thrive.
That's beautiful. And you're working with children outside of your family as well. How are you bringing these kind of awarenesses into your work?
Yes, yeah. So my work is always in service to humankind. That gives me freedom to do what feels the right thing to do. So when I was invited to work as a non-exec director with positively empowered kids, it's like, well, what does that look like? And this is about empowering the child. But to empower the child, the parents need to be conscious. They need to be awake to the needs of the child. Well, they usually are. But it's that conscious parenting and having more time and to being with that child and nurture. And they do. It sounds like that doesn't happen. It does. But to create and co-create that ecosystem of around the child. So that is through conscious parenting. It's through schools, compassionate schools, the creative flow that the children bring to have their voices heard and listened to. It's through the community. And so we set a project up with this in mind. There's a lot going on. But within this one particular school, that a lot of mindfulness has happened. And the head teacher is an angel. Just amazing lady. And we were invited in with a whole project called Youth Voice in Action. And these children were aged 8, 9 and 10. And it's a platform, it's a digital platform where an idea, it's called Vocalize, where an idea is created by a child where it really matters to the school and to the children, and it will help in some sort of project moving forward. And then the children can populate it if they want to be part of it. And then this idea starts to grow because they talk about what this idea could look like. And then it's presented to the school, and then they look at it and they say, well, how can we help you with it? If you're going to do this, like build a peace garden was one of them. If you're going to build a peace garden where the children can be out in the playground with designated space, you need some money. So they said, the teachers helped in this and said, well, you need to present this to the local council, to the wellbeing counsellor. So he came into the school and they presented to him, and he said, well, I have enough in my budget that once it has all been costed out with architects and things, we have enough in our budget and we'll make this happen. And it happened, and it took a year. And on the last day of school, we went and they presented the garden to us, what it looked like. And that sense, to be honest, I just wanted to cry all day. It was so empowering, and the confidence that these children had in saying, we have an idea, we are creative, we can make it happen. So there's that, and there's also a kids festival, Positively Empowered Kids Festival, which will happen on the 1st of July again. It'll be the third one, where similar in a way to how we had the mass meditation, which was that people who are offering services to support children within our community come with their stalls, and the children actually bring their own stalls as well if they've created something to sell and to share with people. And we have this huge festival with a cakewalk, empowered cakewalk, and again we all meet each other. So we had 1,200 people came in September.
Wow.
We hope that we're going to at least double that. It's at Nottingham Racecourse. So yeah,
amazing work. I had June Tranmer, the People's Health Alliance Children's Ambassador, on my podcast a couple of months ago, and she was talking about that they're going to start setting up hubs for teens and empowering teens to have a voice, and some really incredible work. I don't know if you've joined forces with her at all.
No, but I must, because these children have now left little school, as we call it, and they've gone to senior school. The Empowered Kids Network has now gone into the senior school. So it's the teenagers who are now using this. And so I'd love to have a conversation.
Do get in contact with June as well, because it's in the very early stages of how that looks and what's being built. So it might be a wonderful kind of co-creation.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. That'd be fabulous.
This is the beauty, isn't it, of just this is what you were talking about. We just talk and things happen and things unfold. It's just such a beautiful process.
Yeah, it's so natural, isn't it? And that's what this is. It's all about nature and human nature, which is kind.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that's coming through that you'd like to speak about today?
I think gratitude, to be grateful for being alive at this time, even though for many of us it is a very, very challenging time. It's not all, skipping along and everything's rosy. There are loads and loads and loads of challenges. But when we come together, and we come together with this sense of open-minded, open-heartedness, that the way we've been doing things is not necessarily the way we're going forward, but we're not changing what's happening. We're creating another model that runs alongside, and eventually, if and when, I change my words, it gathers that momentum, it will just be a natural change of direction moving on this collaborative path. So I feel incredibly grateful, firstly, for asking me to be here today. Thank you. And being able to give voice for what's coming deeply through, even though we didn't know, to acknowledge the elderhood, as retirement isn't necessarily sitting down, even if and reading the paper every day, unless you want to do that, because we are conscious choice makers. But we're valued, and we've got long lives under our belts. What's drawing us to have that time of purposefulness? So when I have been in the hospice and when I've studied it, these when you're given something which comes as a shock, there's two ways to go. And usually when people come into the hospice, or we don't actually come in really because it's a day centre, but it's delivered at home, most people actually get better for a period of time, because, now I understand. Now I know I'm supported. Now I know I can do the things. I've got time, or maybe I haven't got time, but I'm still being supported. There's a shift, and that comes from acceptance, and it comes from gratitude, and those things, many more. But it's I don't have the answers. There are so many solutions out there. We can each find our own way through a solutions-based community outlook, I would say. So yeah, so grateful, love, acceptance.
Are there any ways that people at home that perhaps are having a really difficult time, because people are going through a lot at the moment, ways that they can find that gratitude and acceptance that you're speaking. Do you have any kind of tips or?
Yes, it's knowing that you can do what you want to do on your own, alone. Groups aren't for everybody. It's finding what it is that you're seeking, because what you're seeking is seeking you. And again, that may sound a little out there, but within the world of what we call manifestation, what is it that I'm looking for? And I would say for the majority of people are looking for love and peace, and they're looking for belonging, and we keep on doing what we're doing because it's a bit scary to go out and seek something, unless we're actually, as you said at the very beginning, until things get bad enough where you just go, oh God, I can't bear this. It would be fabulous if we could get to a place where we don't get that low. Not that it's, I always say it's not my business, just being there is that, having that cushion, and that cushion is community empowerment. So for me, we've got so many of these incredible teachers who taught meditation, and they're recorded, and they're all online on YouTube. I can mention that, feastforthesoul.org. Go in there, and there's a lot of beautiful meditations. And then there are so many groups. It's good to find out in your community what groups there are available. What do you love to do? Do you love to sing? Well, come and join a choir. The tuneless choir we have around here. People can't sing, but when they get together, they make a great noise. And it's having that confidence to step forward, because community holds the key to this.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Anything else that you'd like to share before we finish off today?
No, other than, again, gratitude. Anything you want to share, Sarah?
I don't think so. You did share a beautiful poem with me before when we weren't quite certain, what it was going to be about. And I don't know if it feels appropriate. It might be lovely just to read that, just to finish off.
Sure, thank you. Actually, I have it right in front of me. It's a poem from, they're words from a book called The Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it came through on an email this morning. So I'll read these to you now. So are we sitting comfortably? I'll just take a breath. Remember the clear light, the pure, clear white light, from which everything in the universe comes, to which everything in the universe returns. The original nature of your own mind, the natural state of the universe and manifest. Let go into the clear light. Trust it. Merge with it. It is your own true nature. It is home. It is your own true nature. It is home. So that sense of belonging, that's home, isn't it? Where you can relax and unwind and be truly you.
And letting go into the clear light. And it really brings together everything that you've been speaking about today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding us to share that. It's all there. The light shines on us, and the light shines within us, and we just have to remember, and we practice just being a little more still, taking some deep breaths, aligning the nervous system so that we're in that state of coherence. And and if anybody wants to get in touch, please, if you leave my details.
Yes, what I'll do is I'll put all your website and any details that you give me, I'll put them under the video, so that people can get in contact with you. And thank you so much. It's just been so beautiful. I've just really loved speaking with you today. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it as much as I have.
Thank you. It's flown by. So thank you.
It really has. Thanks so much, everyone, and see you next time. Bye for now.